A new study shows fewer New Mexicans are going to church. So what kind of effect is that having? In a Target 7 investigation, we look at why not as many people are going here to places of worship and how it can affect homelessness and crime.
There are fewer people hearing these tunes on Sunday mornings.
Yeah, pews are emptier generally.
Eric Robinson is the pastor of Christ Lutheran Church in Albuquerque.
There are some weeks where you find yourself scratching your head thinking, wow, where did everybody go?
Pastor Robinson's observations are not far off. According to this study, 27% of all Americans consider themselves religiously unaffiliated. That's up from 21% from a decade ago.
The rates of Americans who are religiously unaffiliated keeps rising.
Melissa Deckman is the CEO of the Public Religion Research Institute. Every few years, they conduct a religion census.
Some estimates over the next decade, about the next 2 decades, some people estimate as many as 20% of churches will be closing in America.
At 30%, the percentage of New Mexicans not religiously affiliated is higher than the national average. The Land of Enchantment ranks 17 in the nation for having the most people not going to church.
But New Mexicans are distinct because there are far more Hispanic religious Americans that live in the state. So, for example, about 1 in 5 New Mexicans are Hispanic Catholics.
Los Alamos County, the home of one of the country's national labs, ranks 6th in the nation for having the most religiously unaffiliated.
Some people will say that those people who are more governed by their scientific knowledge will try to explain God away.
Father Andy Pavlak is the pastor of Our Lady of Most Holy Rosary. He said the Archdiocese of Santa Fe has only one congregation in Los Alamos.
Some of the best scientists of the world will also be the people who understand the connection between science and theology as being, something that we've been struggling with all of our lives, and we continue to do, and really understand that they support each other.
So why are more people not going to church?
Many Americans, especially younger Americans, do not like the way that many organized religions, not all, but many treat LGBTQ individuals.
The church has not always done a good job of maybe addressing some of those questions. And sometimes we've just done a really good job of ignoring them.
You welcome people who are LGBTQ+. You welcome people who are maybe same-sex oriented. You welcome people who are divorced. You welcome people.
So if churches were to go away, what kind of impact would it have on the community?
You would be on the verge of maybe social collapse within a few weeks, just because of the shelters for the unhoused, the food distribution.
Churches can represent a vital organizational hub, if you will, for those communities.
And they're hoping that more people will fill these pews and listen to this music soon. For Target 7, I'm Cristiana Ramos.
A study 2 years ago conducted by a professor in Texas found church attendance is associated with a reduction in drug, alcohol, and white-collar crimes, but there was no correlation with violent crimes.